On October the 25th, 2023, a police officer in Trumann, Arkansas, approached a parked vehicle. Inside the vehicle sat a man, a woman, and two young children. Body-worn camera footage shows the woman seated in the front passenger seat. That woman was Katheryn, Katie, Ferguson. The officer asked routine questions. Katie said that they were just resting. There was no visible damage to the passenger side door. There was no indication that anything untoward had occurred. And then, 4 days later, that same vehicle was stopped again. Katie, though, she was no longer inside. There was now damage, a hole in the passenger side door. This was partially concealed with tape. Between those two traffic stops, something had changed. And now, Katie has not been seen since October the 5th, 2023. But where did she go? By the way, this is Dark Case, and you can call me Jack. I bring you rare and unseen true crime cases, as well as other things that you may later regret knowing, with multiple uploads every single week. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, then please do join the Dark Case family now by hitting subscribe and turning all notifications on. And now for today's silly little question. Do you think that YouTube will exist in 10 years' time? Let me know down in the comments. A quick update as well. I've had a total overhaul of my YouTube memberships. This means that there are now new tiers, and there are also new perks including exclusive videos, as well as a behind the scenes podcast that I record in my car in the cemetery. It's ideal if you want to learn a little bit more about me, and really help the channel to keep on growing and thriving. But now, on with the video. Katheryn Ann Ferguson lived in Cody, Wyoming, where she was raising two young daughters. Most people just called her Katie. She had been in an on-again, off-again relationship for approximately 8 years with Adam Shane Aviles Jr, who was the father of both children. Family members described the relationship as unstable and at times verbally abusive. Relatives stated that Adam was controlling and that he didn't even want Katie socializing independently from him. Both Katie and Adam were described by family as having struggled with substance use in the past. According to relatives, Katie did have periods where she was clean, periods where she was trying to rebuild stability for herself and her children. In May of 2023, Katie left Wyoming and traveled to Alabama with her daughters to stay with her mother, Mona Hartling. Her mother stated that Katie had visible bruising during an earlier period of separation, and that she had even expressed fear about remaining in Wyoming with Adam. During her move to Alabama, Katie sent messages to her stepmother, Angela Ferguson. In those messages, she wrote that she did not want to be stranded on the side of the road with two children. She also wrote that she kept on seeing Adam Aviles following them. So, obviously wanting to keep her safe, Angela sent Katie money and helped her secure a hotel room during that trip. These messages of concern and support would later become documented evidence of Katie's state of mind months before her disappearance. They would also show a pattern developing. For the summer of 2023, Katie remained in Alabama with her children. However, at some point in late September, Katie indicated that she wanted to return back to Wyoming. On September the 24th, 2023, she communicated with family members about that decision. Relatives later described that decision as unexpected, and this is because Katie had previously stopped speaking with Adam after their breakup. So, despite her earlier well-documented fears, it seems that Katie contacted Adam in order to assist with transporting her and the children back to Wyoming. So, Adam travelled to Alabama in his black 1999 Dodge Durango. The group then began the cross-country drive towards Wyoming in early October. At that point, to all intents and purposes, this was a family just giving it another shot, a collection of parents and children attempting to return home across multiple states. The next confirmed documentation of Katie's presence comes from the body-worn camera footage in Arkansas on October the 5th. After that date, though, the timeline gets kind of weird.
What are you guys doing?
Oh, okay.
What you guys up to?
Cleaning up. Yeah, trying to clean up, head over to Jonesboro.
Say it again?
Trying to clean up and head over to Jonesboro. How are you doing?
Okay. Well, I was just seeing a door open and looked suspicious, so I had to come check it out.
Yeah, we're going back.
So are you guys out of Wyoming, or?
Yeah, we're going back.
You going back?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have a ID or anything?
Yeah.
Arkansas ID state? Is Arkansas an ID state?
Say it again?
Is Arkansas an ID state?
Is it an ID
A
state?
must ID state?
Well, I just need to verify you.
I don't think we've done that. I don't think we're breaking the law.
Okay.
Unless we got a call called on us, I don't think we've done that.
Well, I mean, it is a suspicious vehicle in the parking lot, so.
Someone called in or you drove through?
I was driving right here and I seen you guys,
No one called in.
so.
Okay. Yeah, then I won't. If it's not, if Arkansas isn't a must ID.
Do you have your ID on you?
I have no idea where my wallet is right this second.
What's your name?
Katheryn.
Katheryn.
Ferguson.
Katheryn.
Ferguson.
Ferguson?
Yeah.
Out of Wyoming? Say it again?
We would have been at a hotel in Priceland, a bunch of money, so he's been trying.
How long you guys been here in Trumann?
Just one night, yeah. An officer.
You guys just passing through?
Yes, yeah.
Get back to one.
Yeah, an officer came to the dollar store.
So what are you guys doing over in this area? I'm like traveling this way. You guys family or?
Yeah. Well,
She
no.
was down in Alabama.
Yeah.
Say it again?
I was with my family, and then he came up.
Where's your family? In Jonesboro?
No. It's all the way way down towards Florida and stuff. And his I took the girls for a while, and we separated for a while, and then we came back together. So he drove down to see me, and we decided just to get back together and take care of the girls. So.
Gotcha.
This is just the way from Cody, Wyoming
Okay.
to Alabama.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be here at all.
All right.
The most reliable anchors in the timeline of this case come from law enforcement contact that was captured on video. It's these stops that create a narrow window where Katie is confirmed present, and she is then confirmed absent. Because there is no verified public sighting after October the 5th, that Arkansas stop becomes a baseline that investigators measure everything against. It also becomes the moment that family members point to when they say, "That is the last time we can prove she was there." 4 days after that baseline, another stop in Texas now introduces two changes that matter legally and procedurally and flip this whole thing upside down. In Texas, Katie is no longer in the vehicle, and the passenger side door that now shows signs of damage that was described as a projectile hole, a hole that had been covered over with tape. A state trooper in Texas asks a direct question about the children's mother. Adam responds by saying that Katie does not have a phone, and this is because it's broken. He also says that he cannot get in touch with her. In a typical welfare check scenario, that kind of answer can trigger follow-up steps, because it shows that the adult who should be present and in charge of the children, they're not there and they also can't be contacted. Situations like this could also be showing signs of a potential cover-up. This is because the trooper can now not confirm Katie's status, because she cannot be contacted by phone. So now, regardless of what has actually happened to Katie, things have really changed, because this is the first moment where the story becomes dependent on only Adam's explanations, rather than confirmations or information from Katie herself. Then, 2 days later, Colorado adds a third data point. Adam is seen once again as the only adult present with the children. So by that point, the pattern is consistent, and it seems obvious that Katie is no longer there. She does not reappear at later stops or on CCTV, and there is no outward sign that she is travelling separately with her own vehicle. At different points in the reporting, Adam is described as giving different explanations. In one version, he claims that Katie was not actually missing, but she simply did not want contact with her own mother. Another version claims that she left during an substance run, as I'll call it, on YouTube. Great. And that this happened in the Little Rock area, and that she did not return from that. At this point in the investigation, it's not really about which of Adam's stories should be believed. It's which of the stories can be independently verified against timestamps, locations, and physical evidence. So, thankfully in this case, the car with Adam and the children was stopped often enough for there to be quite a lot of video evidence that she suddenly went missing. However, this evidence does span multiple states, and this increases the complexity of the records, the requests for data, and the coordination of the investigation in general. In the United States, if a disappearance becomes suspected to have occurred somewhere between jurisdictions, travel routes then have to be reconstructed using traffic stops, things like toll data, fuel purchases, and phone records when available. So in this case, the stops are already documented, but it's those missing gaps that seem to hold the secrets to this case. This is why later reporting describes investigators focusing on an Arkansas corridor between Little Rock and Gurdon. So, with all of the data points combined, authorities now have an idea of the timeline and the location where Katie actually vanished. Nearly a month after Katie could last be accounted for, on October 2nd, 2023, Katie's mother Mona contacted the Cody Police Department and reported her daughter missing. This is a point where law enforcement officially start the search. Within just 2 days, however, another event moves the case from simple concern to full-on suspected foul play. On November 4th, 2023, Adam's black 1999 Dodge Durango is found abandoned in a remote area outside Cody, Wyoming, in a place described as the Oregon Basin region. Trash bags blocked the view through the windows. Deputies break a window to make sure that no one is inside needing medical assistance. And when they do this, an odour described in documents as putrefied blood, or red DNA as I have to call it here, is then reported by investigators at the scene. Inside the vehicle, the front passenger seat is now missing. Cleaning wipes and other cleaning-related items are noted in reporting. A loaded magazine for a .45 caliber handgun is located in that vehicle. Projectile damage is also documented in the front passenger door area, and that has been covered up with tape. Investigators later describe recovering fired projectiles that are consistent with the .45 caliber rounds that match up with everything to do with the scene. Court records confirm that Adam had prior felony conviction for possession of brown in Park County, Wyoming. Because of that conviction, federal law now prohibited him from possessing firearms or ammunition. Interior trim and components are described as being removed and then being placed into trash bags inside the vehicle. Lab testing later confirmed that dried red DNA is present in the vehicle. This discovery introduces a second kind of timeline, one that is separate from the traffic stops. The first timeline is where the vehicle was seen and when. The second timeline is what the vehicle actually contains, and whether those contents can be dated or linked to a specific person. Could they perhaps be linked to when Katie was last seen in that car? The fact that in that vehicle the passenger seat is missing, that's extremely important and suspicious, because the physical absence of a seat can't just be explained away by normal wear or routine cleanup. It also matters because it's directly connected to where Katie was seen seated in the last confirmed footage of her. Whilst deputies were still processing the vehicle, Adam Aviles actually approaches the scene and, get this, he's carrying a gas can. He tells deputies that he's simply there to put gas in the Durango. Little problem with that though. Katie's mother Mona, she later stated that officers told her that the vehicle was not actually out of gas. Regardless of the motive of Adam having that gas, approaching the vehicle with it becomes a documented interaction, because even though it is his vehicle, It links him to it once again in this active investigation. There's no way that in the future he can say, I don't know what happened, someone stole the car. By this stage, the case is no longer just a missing persons report, simply supported by worried family statements. It becomes a case where a vehicle associated with a missing person, it's found, it contains evidence, and it's serious enough that investigators treat it as suspicious. Thorough testing was carried out on the car. After the Durango was processed, attention turned back to that missing front passenger seat, the place where Katie was last seen alive on October the 5th. Investigators later learned that after returning to Wyoming, Adam reportedly borrowed an angle grinder from a friend. Testimony referenced in reporting suggests that the tool was then used to cut or remove something from the vehicle. So, the timing of this becomes relevant. If a component was removed after the cross-country trip, but before law enforcement could fully secure the vehicle, then when and why did this modification occur? Around this same time, another suspicious item enters the record. Adam Aviles' father. He reportedly discovered a large pink tote container at the Cody residence that he shared with his son. According to testimony cited in reporting, that container emitted an odor described as rotting meat. The father reportedly placed that tote in a dumpster. Court testimony later summarized in news coverage states that Adam then retrieved that tote and even told his father that it contained DNA. Frustratingly for the investigation, authorities never recovered that tote. So this case was now suffering from the absence of potential evidence that could have been a direct link, showing exactly what happened to Katie. If indeed there was DNA as Adam stated, that could have been the case, cut and dry. Investigators now had to make up for that lack of physical evidence. During the investigation, the FBI conducted a forensic interview with the older child. I say older, but they were only 4 years old at the time. Documentation says that the child made a statement about her father accidentally hurting her mother. Authorities have not publicly released further detail about that statement or exactly what was said, but we can imagine it was powerful to the case. Meanwhile, investigators had narrowed their search to that Arkansas corridor between Little Rock and Gurdon. At one point, a strip of fabric was reportedly found, fabric that Katie's mother Mona believed matched the pattern of Katie's pajamas. Although Mona believes this, law enforcement has not publicly confirmed it, so we can't be 100% sure. Because the passenger seat and the pink tote remain missing, the Park County Sheriff's Office publicly asked hunters, hikers, and other outdoors people to watch for those specific items. Those two objects, if they still exist, they almost certainly contain DNA evidence. I mean, it is unlikely, but if you're in the area, just keep an eye out. At this stage, the case hinges on both what was found and what wasn't. On November 8, 2023, Adam Aviles was arrested by the Park County Sheriff's Office on local allegations including substance possession and unauthorized use of a vehicle. Those local charges were later dropped, as then federal prosecutors pursued a felon in possession of ammunition case instead. The legal basis for that charge was Adam Aviles' prior felony conviction, which banned him from possessing firearms or ammunition under federal law. A federal indictment followed in mid-November 2023. Adam Aviles eventually entered a guilty plea in a federal ammunition case. On September 13, 2024, he was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. During sentencing, U.S. District Court Judge Alan B. Johnson found that Aviles unlawfully possessed the ammunition in connection with the voluntary manslaughter of Katheryn Ferguson, or Katie as we have been referring to her. This is according to official reporting from the U.S. Attorney's Office. However, no state murder or manslaughter charge has been publicly filed in connection with Katie's disappearance. That distinction is procedural and very important here, because a federal firearms conviction addresses unlawful possession, but a homicide prosecution would require separate charging decisions, different evidence standards, and different jurisdictional authority. Law enforcement officials have stated that the investigation into Katie's disappearance does remain active. Multiple agencies have been and are still involved, including the Park County Sheriff's Office, the Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigation, the FBI, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. Sheriff Darrell Stewart has publicly stated that the federal sentence provides breathing room for investigators, while Adam Aviles remains in custody. Katie's daughters are reported to be living with Aviles' mother in Wyoming. Katie's mother, Mona Hartling, has stated that she is allowed to visit them. The family has since established the Katie Ferguson Memorial Fund at Bighorn Federal Bank and US Bank to assist with search efforts and memorial planning. As of the latest reporting that I could find, sadly, despite coordinated and exhaustive efforts across agencies, Katie, or more likely, Katie's remains, have not been located. The pink tote has not been recovered. The passenger seat has not been located. The confirmed timeline still begins with October the 5th, 2023 in Arkansas. Everything after that date is only based on what investigators could piece together. The unanswered question is still the same. Between the stops in Arkansas and Texas, what happened in those 4 days? Where is Katie? Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.